is the Intro to Git workshop. And today we have Priscilla Wang with us. She's a software developer at JP Morgan, and she's also the founder of Girls Talk Tech, which is a web series where women share their experiences in the tech industry. So yeah, thank you, Priscilla, for hosting a workshop with us today, and I'll hand things over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I'm so glad to be here today, and I'm really, really thankful to have the opportunity to share my Intro to GitHub workshop with everybody. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Alrighty. Keep clicking on the wrong thing. Yeah, so hi, like Sue said, my name is Priscilla, and I work at JP Morgan as a software developer, and I have been in the industry for 3.5 years now. I graduated in 2017 from Columbia University with a degree in computer engineering, but I'm actually from the Bay Area, so it's nice to be here with DA Hacks. I'm just really excited to share my workshop with you all. So today we're going to be talking about GitHub and Git. And I'm going to use an analogy that I really like, and I hope you guys like as well. We're going to use the concept of starting our own boba shop. And this is part one. So part one, we're going to talk about what version control is. And part two, we're actually going to be doing it ourselves. So using an example, we're going to learn how to use the version control, which is why I had you guys all install Git and open a GitHub account. If you haven't done so, don't worry about it. I will share the slides with you later. And so just follow along. And if you want to practice later, you can do that. So we're going to start with thinking about opening a boba shop. I don't know if you guys like boba, but I am a huge fan. And so I have a little boba doll right here to use as like a prop, my teaching assistant. So let's imagine that we are opening a shop called Boba Hacks. Right, so our shop is relatively new. We don't have anything on the menu except for one thing. And the only thing that we're serving right now is milk tea. So no boba, no nothing, just pure milk tea. And we have to figure out how we can add to that menu. So our boba shop has already opened officially to the public, right? So the customers can come and order stuff, but right now we only have one thing on the menu. As you can see on the right side, that's a menu. So we got to think about exactly how we can add to the menu without disturbing what the clients or our customers can see. So what we're going to call our main menu, which is the one that customers can see, is our OG main menu. And in order to add to the menu, let's think about what we want to do. So it's a boba shop, right? We got to add boba to it, right? That's the whole point. So we can't just have milk tea. So to add boba, as a new owner, you probably don't know how much you're going to add right now. So you have to experiment a little. So what we're going to do is go to the back of the shop. We're not going to show our clients what we're experimenting because that's kind of embarrassing, right? You're like trying to do it in front of them. It doesn't really work that way. It doesn't really work well when you're just like trying to figure things out in front of your customers. They'll think that you are being really irresponsible, or they don't think that you know what you're doing. So what we're going to do is make a copy of our OG main menu. We're going to branch off to the side and we're going to experiment with our recipe. And this process of experimenting, we want to keep track of it so we know exactly how much boba to put in. So we're going to call this whole experimentation add boba. We're going to name it feature/add boba. And we call this a branch because we're branching off of the original, making a copy of the original, and then experimenting in the back. So as you can see, we first tried to add a little bit too much boba. we don't love it, so we're gonna take out some. And when we finally figure out the exact ratio we like, we're gonna say, all right, this is it. I've made the decision that we're gonna use this amount of boba for this milk tea. And this process is called staging, where you've decided that, hey, this is going to be it. We're gonna actually save this recipe. We call this staging, and I like to use this little stage to like show that you're like essentially showcasing that, all right, I'm ready to save this. Next, we're gonna add a commit message. A commit message is something that describes what exactly you did in the process. So we're going to say add boba to original milk tea, and then commit this thing. And a commit message and a commit essentially is a snapshot. So it takes a picture of what you did. And this is really important to write a message because let's say the second day you come back and you don't remember why exactly you did what you did. It's so important for you to have that commit message so that when you forget, you can go back to it and say, oh, okay, yeah, I did this because I wanted to add boba. Or let's say you have other people working at your boba shop. They might not know what exactly you did, and having that commit message that you made will be really helpful for when they look at the logs and see exactly why you did the things you do. So next, what we're gonna do is push the branch back to the main menu. And what we're going to do, why we are going to do that is because we are ready for our clients or our customers to see exactly what we did, and we're ready to add the boba to our main menu. So while we're experimenting, as you can see, the customers don't see any of that, right? But now that we're ready, we can go back and add it to the main menu. So just to recap, after we made the changes in the back from the feature branch, we're going to stage the changes. We're going to commit the changes by adding a commit message, and then we're going to push it back to the main branch, the main menu. And when you push it back to the main menu, as you can see, we've already added the boba, and the main menu will reflect the changes that we've made since we pushed it to the main menu. And this concept is called merging, right? The first time when we took a copy, that's called branching out. And when you are putting it back together again, it's called merging. So let's say your partner for this boba shop wants to add another version of their recipe. And what they want to do is actually just have no milk. They only want the tea, whether it's black tea or green tea or whatever. So what they're going to do is experiment with the recipe on their own. And so they're also going to branch off, and they're just going to name it feature/remove milk because this is, their branch. And usually you want to name your branch something that is recognizable. So when you go back to it, you'll know why exactly you did the things you do and what you did on that branch. So another employee plays with the original recipe and they're like, all right, I'm done. This is it. I want our tea to just be green tea. So they made a copy. They have decided that this is going to be the way it's going to be. They did the same thing. They staged the changes. They added a commit message, which is remove milk from milk tea. And then they push it back to the original branch. But we are now facing a conflict. Why? Because when you are pushing back to the original branch, the feature branch will look at the main menu, and will see, all right, I want to look for pure milk tea and then remove milk. But now when your employee or when your partner is pushing, what the feature branch sees is that there's no longer just a pure milk tea on the main menu. Instead, it sees a milk tea with boba. So it's really confused. They're like, all right, which one do you want to keep, right? Because they can't make that decision for you. Do you want to keep the one with boba, or do you want to keep the one with just pure green tea? So it's going to give you an option, it's going to give you three options actually. First is to keep the local change, and local means whatever is happening on your computer. And then it's going to ask if you want to keep the incoming change, and that's what's coming from the main menu. Or you can keep both, right? You get to make that decision. So let's say, we're trying to grow our menu, so we want to keep both. So that's a decision we've made. So we're going to end up keeping both. And after we keep both, we're actually going to add a commit message because we've added more code changes. And the commit message is going to say, okay, resolve conflict, and we're going to push back to the main branch again. So yeah, that's it. That's all that there is. And I apologize. There's actually a little typo here. It says main and master here. It should be main. So I apologize for that in advance. I just noticed it. So we're going to push back to the main branch, and that's essentially the concept of version control. Super simple. And I hope that analogy makes it easy to understand, but let's just go through the concept one more time. What exactly is version control? It's a system that keeps track of your code history. It takes snapshots of your files. It decides when you want to take a snapshot by making a commit, and you can visit the snapshot at any time. So you can actually also stage files before committing. So let's say you made changes to file A and file B, but you only stage the changes in file A. So when you commit, only file A will be committed. And this is really helpful because you might just want to be playing around with some stuff, but you don't want to save it and commit it to the master menu, the main menu, sorry. All right, branching and merging. Branching is when developer copies or duplicates part of the source code, which is also called the repository. So the source code is just what we call, your base code. And on this branch, the developer can safely make changes and test out the code without affecting the rest of the project. So this is really important. You don't want to be changing the code that is visible to the customers, the clients, because that's really unprofessional, having things break in the middle of them using your stuff. So it's important that you branch out and make changes locally. Merging is when, once the developer gets the code working properly, they merge the code back to the main source code and makes it official. So you probably heard of Git, and then you've also probably heard of GitHub. So what exactly is Git? Git is an open source distributed version control system. That's a lot of words. This means that the code base history is available on everyone's computer. So what is open source? What does that mean? Open source is made available for use or modification as users or other developers see fit. It is usually developed as a public collaboration and made freely available. So if you hear the word open source, it means that you can actually contribute to it. So there are a lot of open source projects. You can contribute to it. There are other people contributing to it. And if you pick up some issues, if you see that there's a bug, you can raise the issue and maybe someone else will actually fix it, or you can fix it. On the right side, we have distributed version control. So that is a form of version control in which the complete code base, including its full history, is mirrored on every developer's computer. So a non-distributed version control system is one that can only be seen on your own computer. When it's distributed, that means you can actually see it on everyone in the team's computer. So that's what GitHub is. It controls the savings of your code, and it helps you track the changes. So what is GitHub, right? GitHub has two parts to it. It has Git and it has Hub. So Git, we already know what that is. Hub, on the other hand, is a cloud-based service that helps developers store and manage their code, and it tracks and controls changes. So the Hub is the cloud part. You can log into the cloud, log into the Hub, and then save your code there. But the way that they track the changes is by using Git, which we talked about earlier. So that's what GitHub is. And with that, we're going to move on to an example that uses GitHub. So hopefully everybody has their Git installed and has their own GitHub account. If not, no worries. Like I said, you can do this later. But before I move forward, does anybody have any questions right now? Okay. All right, let's just keep going then. So in your terminal, you are going to, let me just close everything else I have. On your computer, you're going to open the command line, which is either going to be terminal or git bash. Terminal if you're on the Mac, git bash if you are on PC. So to open git bash, you're going to just right click on your desktop and then say, and then click on git bash. If you're on the Mac, you're going to just do terminal, or you can go to your utilities folder. Alrighty. And then we are going to go to our desktop, cd, by running this command, cd space, then squiggly / desktop. Awesome. Let me just make this bigger. And we are going to be trying out some commands in the command line. So once you have your terminal open, we're just going to play with it a little bit. You can definitely not use, you don't have to use this, but this is the industry standard. And once you learn how to use it, it's just so much easier than using a UI because it's much faster. So I'm just going to run through some really simple commands. Once you're in desktop, you can try ls. And ls will list all of your items in that folder. And since we're on the desktop folder, it has all of my little folders and also files. Like I have like website photos as a folder, my resume, and let's do ls space -l. So what that does is actually list out the details of all of my files. So these are when my screenshots were taken. This is when, I created the directory, which user it's on, it's under my user, and then ls-a. This is a cool one because it shows you all of the information on the desktop. So all of the files are on the desktop, even if it's set up for you to not actually see it. So over here, you see these 4 files. Yeah, these 4, that's actually in your desktop, but the computer is set up so that it's not on your user interface. So when you go to your desktop, you can't actually see those files. It's just because like a lot of the times, these files are not really meant for you to use. It's more for like the computer to use, but it's cool that you can actually see it through using the terminal, the command line. So ls-a will show you that. All right, let's make a directory. So let's make a folder. To create a folder, just do mkdir space, and let's call that day hack. That's the folder name. And if you do ls again, you will see that your folder has been made, DA hack. And if you want to go inside of the folder, you do cd, which means change directory, cd space, and then go to that folder, which is DA hack. And then we do ls, you see that it doesn't give us anything because there's nothing in the folder right now. But if you go to your user interface, your UI, you can see that, hey, like this file actually has been created. Sorry, the folder has been created. All right, so how do you get out of it? You just do cd space and then 2 dots. And you see you're back onto the desktop. Super simple. And let's say you don't know exactly where you are at. What command can you use for that? You can use pwd, which means print working directory. And once you hit enter, you'll see that you are in users and then Priscilla Wang, my account, and then desktop. super simple. Yeah, and these are just like the basic commands you can use to quickly figure out what's in your folder, where exactly you are in your computer. And I added these additional commands you can try out over here. Don't feel the need to memorize everything. These are like probably the main ones you'll need to use. And even as someone who's been working for quite a little bit, I still regularly look up how to use different commands. So don't be pressured to memorize them. So we're gonna run a few basic Git commands in this workshop. First one is git init. It will initialize the repo. Actually, we're not gonna use that, sorry, I take that back. But if you want to initialize repo with your command line, and repo again is repository, it keeps track of your code. You can use git init. And then we're going to do git add, which is the staging part, git status, which shows the working directory and sees what's happening in your git, git commit, which is the snapshot that we were talking about. And then we're going to do git push, git pull, and git clone. And I will show you how to do that. All right, so let us go to our GitHub. So open up a browser and then go to your GitHub account. And it should look like this. What we are going to do now is create a repository. So let's call this, so click on new, and then let's call it something. Let's call it boba DA hack space boba. Or you can make your own name. And you can just add a description, it's optional, boba example. And you can choose to make it public or private. I'm gonna just make it private because I want to keep it to myself. But remember, but know that you can actually add people to the repository without making it public. So you can actually choose who to show it to. And then we're going to initialize it. I'm gonna do a README file. A README file is a file where there's instructions on how to run the project, what exactly is the project about. Sometimes there are going to be demos of like how to use something in the project. So it's really helpful and it's really necessary for every single project because you want to inform the users or inform other developers what's going on. And we're going to do add git ignore. So a git ignore file is one that keeps track of all the files that you want to ignore when you're committing. And so we use this because sometimes there are some files like mock passwords, mock usernames, or their files are temporary that you don't want to actually put in the cloud. You only want to keep it in your local computer. So adding a git ignore file is really, really easy for you to keep track of what you want to put in the cloud and what you don't want to put in the cloud. And then you can choose a license. You don't have to. It just tells people what you can and cannot do with your code. And we're going to create a repository. It's weird because sometimes it doesn't show up green until you click on it. So just click on the drop down and it'll enable it. So we are going to create the repository. And you got your first GitHub repository. Yay! So this is our boba example, super simple. And let's try to look at what I have in my repository. So in the chat, there is a link. It's basically github.com/thepriscillawang/boba. And over here, you can see an example of a README file, right? So it'll answer questions like how do you install and run the application? How do you use it? Who do you contact if you have any questions about the code? And then over here, we have our git ignore and index. Oh, and then this is something we'll add later. Awesome. Okay, back to your desktop. Go to your command line. and make sure you are in desktop. If you're not in desktop, make sure you're doing that. You're right there. And we are going to commit our machine to use our Git credentials. So what we're gonna do is do git config -- global space user.name space, and then in quotation, you're gonna put your name. The reason why we do this is so that whenever you're using this machine, Git knows exactly who you are. So it's not going to constantly ask you who you are and what your email is. This just keeps track of who the user is when using Git. So press enter and that will establish your username. And then global is so that whenever you are on this machine, no matter which folder you are in, you're going to have the same Git credentials. All right, we're going to do the email now. Git space config space -- global space user.email space, and then just put your email. Make sure you don't have quotation marks around it, and use the email that you have for your GitHub account. Cool. And then another trick forgot to mention is that you can use the up arrow key to hit the previous commands. So you don't actually have to type everything out. You could have just clicked on the up arrow key and then change, name to email. Awesome. All right, next we are going to explore the repository we made. So going back to your own Git repository, we're going to see that we have the README, like we said, and over here we have issues. So this is when you see that there is a bug and you want to address that. You can raise an issue and then maybe other people on your team can fix it, or it's just for you to keep track of all of the issues you have. We have pull requests. Pull requests are made when you are merging stuff back to the main branch. So after you branch off, we want to merge it back together. And so that's called a pull request. And there are other functionalities here too, such as actions. I think this just keeps track of like your workflow. I've never used it. Projects. There's just so many other tools you can use to help share and track your progress. There's security. Insights is helpful for when you are trying to figure out like who is working on what. And settings is probably the most important place because this is where you can manage access. So you would be adding your teammates here. So if you want to add a collaborator for your hackathon, this is where you would do it. All right, back to the code. We are going to clone our project so that it is on our local machine. So we're going to hit this code, and then you see how there's a clone thing, and then there's the link. You're going to copy it. If you click on this, it copies the link. And go to your terminal, and then we're going to do git clone, git space clone, and right click, paste. Click enter. And let's do ls. As you can see, now you have the file on your computer, and let's cd into it. cd da hack -boba. All right, so as you can see, we are here now. And when we do ls, we can see our README. Awesome. So this is exactly what is in our GitHub. What is there is in our own computer now. So we're going to try to make changes to it. So what you're going to do next is open Sublime or any other text editor that you are used to using. And we're just going to open that folder. Go to File, Open. It's on desktop. So I'm just going to click on this file and not go into it because I want to open the entire folder. Open. Awesome. And over here, I'm just going to right click on my folder and create a new file. And then Control S to save it, index.html. So we're just going to call it index.html. Basically what an HTML file is, it's a web page. We're going to just create a really simple web page with no functionalities. I'll just display a few things. Go back to my
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Hi, sorry for interrupting.
It's okay.
But I was actually took some time to put my password in it. So like I was kind of one failed and then I didn't catch you up. So would you mind repeat that process a little bit?
Oh, for cloning?
After I get into the cloning, yeah.
Oh, after you get into cloning?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to your desktop. Sorry, go to your IDE, so your text editor. And then open that folder that you made.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So just open the folder you made, which is supposed to be on your desktop, right? And after you open it, click into it and then create a file called index.html and save it.
Does the folder has to be contain the README with it?
It should be the one that you cloned, so it should have the README.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one is essentially just a copy of what's in your cloud, in your GitHub account that you made, right?
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So index.html, and what you're going to do is actually go to the example I showed you, click into my index.html, and then copy it. Copy this and put it in your own. And then save it. And we are going to open this page. And to open this page, just go to your folder again. Sorry, there are so many windows right now, but just go to the folder where you created the index.html file. And then if you click into it, it should open a browser with your code showing. So like I said, HTML is just a simple way to create a web page. It has the text that we added into it. So let's just compare and see what's happening. So the title is My Boba Shop, and you can see the title here on the tab right here, My Boba Shop, right? And we have body. So body is what's going to show in that page. H1 means header 1. So the size is going to be a little bit bigger. Header 1 says, welcome to my boba shop. And we add an end tag to essentially say this is where we stop and then this is where we start. And then H2 is the next header. It says pick from the menu below. Over here on our web page, we see pick from the menu below. And then we have P, which means paragraph. So it's going to have like the smallest text. We just put milk tea because that's what's in our main menu. So milk tea, yay, super simple, awesome. And we are actually going to add to our GitHub. So the stuff we added right now is only on our local machine, right? We don't have it in the cloud yet because we haven't pushed. So we're going to push it to the cloud. So what I'm going to do is go to our terminal, our command line, do git status. And when you do git status, it shows which branch I am on. It says we are on the main branch, and these are the untracked files. So untracked files are ones that are not in the cloud. It's only on my machine right now. And so like we said, when we want to push to the cloud, we gotta stage it, we got to add a commit message, and we got to push. To stage it, the command is git space add space and then the name of the file you want to stage. So in this case, it's index. And then we're going to click enter. And let's just check the status again. I'm going to press up and then up again because I already used that command. Click enter. Awesome. So now it sees that you have something that is staged and ready to be committed. So we're going to commit a message now. Git space commit space. And then we're going to do -m, which means message, space. And then in quotation mark, we're going to say what exactly we did. So I'm going to say added initial web page. And then close it up. All right, get status again. So you have nothing to commit because we've already committed everything, but now we have to push. Git push origin main. So this is how you push to the main branch. The command is git push the HTML, the link that you're pushing to. And since we already know exactly which link we are pushing to, we can actually just say origin. Origin is an easy way to say, okay, we're just going to push to the place that we pulled from earlier, that we cloned from. So instead of writing that entire link, you can just say origin. And then the last thing that you have to put there is the branch. And we only have the main branch right now. So we're going to put main there. And then click enter. And you can say that, all right, it's writing these objects. It's done. So if we go back to our GitHub account, right? And then let's refresh the page. You'll see that your changes have been added in index.html. Yay, awesome. So congratulations, you just made your first push. And that one we pulled directly from main and we pushed directly to main. So now we're gonna learn how to branch off of main. So like we said, we're gonna experiment with our recipe on the side. So we're gonna create a branch. To create a branch, the command is git space checkout space dash d space. And then we're gonna call the branch something. So we're gonna call it feature add boba. And you don't have to say feature. That's just the industry standard way of saying, all right, I'm adding this new feature. This is the branch for it. So sometimes you can just write like, you know, Priscilla working branch or something that you want, but I'm gonna do feature add boba. And now we're on a new branch. We do git status. You'll see that we are on branch feature add boba. Yay. We are going to add the boba now. And again, we want to create a branch so that if anyone else is working, it's not messing up the main branch. So we're going to add boba. In our text editor, we're going to create a new one. Oh, actually, let's just add this. Milk tea with boba. All right, we're going to do milk tea with boba, save. And once we save it, let's do git status on our terminal. And we'll see that, all right, this is modified, which is different from last time when it says it was untracked. It's modified because we already had this file, but we changed it. We're going to do the same thing. We can do git add and then index.html. Another way to do it is actually just do git add and then period, which means that anything that is read will be staged. This can be dangerous if you're changing like 20 files at a time, but you only want to stage 10 of them. So use this with caution. But since we're only changing one file right now, we can use it. And then all right, we're going to do git add. And in the meantime, we can actually check our file again, our web page. If you refresh it, you'll see that we have the changes. All right, back to our terminal. Git add, git commit, -m, added boba. And they're going to do git push origin, right? But this time, we don't want to push to the main. We want to push to our feature branch. So we're going to do feature / add boba. Enter. Yay, so it says we've created a new branch and we push from feature add boba to feature add boba. Going back to our GitHub, let's go to our code. If you refresh the page, you'll see that we have two branches now. We have the main branch, and you can see your branches here. Main branch and then feature add boba. If we click onto index.html, the main branch has milk tea. If we switch to our feature add boba branch, it will have milk tea with boba. Perfect. That's what we expect it to look. And then we're going to go to pull requests because let's say, you are ready to merge to the main menu. So we're going to create a pull request to merge. And you see how it already tracks that you had a recent push and it wants to see if you want to merge it. Let's just create our own pull request here with new. And we are going from the feature branch to the main menu. So follow the arrow. I always get a little bit confused, but I end up following the arrow all the time. Let's go from feature, add boba, to main menu, because we're pulling from feature, add boba. Yeah. And if you scroll down, you'll see that they actually will track the changes for you. And it shows you, all right, this was deleted and this was added. So we're going to create the pull request. And over here, you can leave comments. You can add people on your team to review your changes to make sure that, all right, they also agree with it. And create the pull request. And you can scroll down and the system, Git, already checks to see if you have any merge conflicts. And it says, all right, there are no conflicts right now. Would you like to merge it? Let's just say yes, merge pull request, and then confirm merge. Yay! So our pull request has been merged now. Let's see what happens to our main branch. So when we click into index.html again, you'll see that our main also has milk tea with boba. Perfect, that's what we wanted it, right? Because we made changes to feature and then we we merged it back to the main branch. Perfect. All right, so the last example I'm going to show you is going to be a little bit complicated. I'm just going to show you what a conflict looks like. And I don't want you to follow along because it's a little bit complicated, but just take a look at what I'm doing and I'll explain in a little bit. So let's say I made some changes first I'm going to go back to the master branch. To go back to another branch, just do git checkout. And remember how we did -b to make a branch? We don't need to do that. If we want to just go to another branch, we just say the name of the other branch. Git checkout main. All right, we're in main now. And our main has, let me just refresh. Oh, I gotta see. All right, I moved to main, but my code base doesn't have the new changes. So we actually have to pull the changes. So we gotta do git pull, and now my code has the newest changes. So I'm going to try to create a merge conflict, which is really hard because I try my entire life not to have merge conflicts. I have to think through it. All right, milk tea with boba. I'm gonna do milk tea with boba, less ice as an example. Git commit. And then git push origin map name. All right, so my main now thinks that we have milk tea with boba, less ice, and then I'm going to go back to our checkout feature, add boba branch. More ice. Let's see if this will create a merge conflict. Oops. Git push. All right, pull request. Let's do it. New. Gonna go from feature to main. Awesome. All right, create a pull request. So in this case, you see that there is a conflict, right? It's not able to automatically merge it. So we're actually going to go into it and resolve the conflict. The reason why it can't automatically merge it is because one instance, they're making changes to the same exact line of code, but the code is completely different. So it doesn't know which one to keep track of. Kind of like what we talked about earlier today in the previous section. So we're going to decide on which one we want to keep because they can't keep, Git can't make that decision for you. So as you can see, it'll show you these little symbols that shows you exactly where the differences are. And the differences are on this line that we made changes to. And in this instance, you have to decide, all right, do I want to keep the one on feature add boba or do I want to keep the one in main? So we're actually just going to keep both like this by removing these lines with the symbols. Yeah, super easy, right? Let's say you only wanted to keep the top. You want to keep the stuff from feature add boba. What you're going to do is just delete the ones from the other branch that you don't want to keep. And then once again, delete all of the lines with the symbols. So in our case, we're just going to delete all the lines with the symbols and keep both and make sure that, all right, everything is good. And we are going to click mark as resolved. And we're going to click commit merge. And now it has no conflicts because we resolved it. And then you're going to merge pull request. Confirm. So if we go back to our code now, in the main branch, you'll see that we have both of them, which is what we decided to keep. Yeah? So that's essentially how you resolve a merge conflict. The way for you to not have so many merge conflicts in a group of people, let's say there are two of you working on one piece of code, is for you to constantly be pulling from the main code base so you'll always have the latest changes. If your partner is making changes from lines 1 through 5, you don't want to be making changes from lines 1 through 5. You want to be making changes from lines 6 through 10, for example. So just make sure you're not always looking at the same code and making changes to the same code. And if you are, make sure that when you have those conflicts, you are talking to each other and telling each other, all right, this is the things that I want to keep because of this. So you're both making the same decision together as a team. For the purpose of your hackathon, since it's only 2 days, I would just create a branch for yourself and then maybe a branch for your partner or teammate. I wouldn't make a branch for every single thing that you're adding, like a feature, just because you only have 48 hours and you want to quickly come up with something for the hackathon. And also if you are just making something quick, I would just recommend that you keep things on the main or in 1 or 2 branches just to make things simple. The whole branching thing is mainly for really, really large organizations. Like my team has, 20 developers, so we want to keep track of who is working on what. Yeah, so that's it. Hopefully it wasn't too complicated, and hopefully that was helpful. And thank you all so much for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions right now.
Thank
Yes.
you, Priscilla. We will be having a Q&A session until 5. So feel free to unmute yourself to ask Priscilla any questions.
Yes, I have a quick question. So the D hack boba is